And we're back. If you watched the last HEMA video, you'll see that I mostly used what's generally known as a longsword. This is your classic sword and sorcery, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings style sword-looking sword. It's usually the most common kind of sword you'll run into in most HEMA clubs. It's kind of the lingua franca of a lot of the sword fighting groups. But the second most common kind of sword you'll run into is this. This is what's known as a side sword. It's closer to what you typically imagine a Three Musketeers, fencer, swashbuckling kind of sword is. In fact, the reason we call swashbucklers swashbucklers is because of this. A buckler. Now, you might be thinking, BC, what could you possibly do with a tiny pot lid shield like that? Well, you can do a lot of things, namely this. Pretty cool, huh? Now, I'll be the first to admit, I'm way more comfortable using a long sword than I am a side sword. But one of the advantages of using a side sword is the fact that it only requires one hand to use, which leaves your other hand open for all sorts of things. Now, generally, people will use things like a buckler. They might use a parrying dagger, or if they're real crazy, they'll just have a free hand out ready to grab the other person's blade. However, me and some of the fellas at ADL Fencing were talking about the viability of another combination. One a little more anachronistic. We were talking about the viability of side sword and police baton. Now, no worries, this isn't a real police baton. This is a fake one used for costumes from, where did I get this? Oh yeah, how could I forget? Nicky Biggs Novelties. He's a funny guy, is vaguely Italian coded. But anyway, I'm using a prop baton for two reasons. Number one, if I actually hurt any of my HEMA buddies, that's one less person to train with. And number two, while batons like this are legal in the state of Texas, they are considered actual bludgeoning weapons, which means if I accidentally leave this in my car and then go to a bar, things could get hairy. So, what we're gonna do is, this is just a hollow piece of plastic. It's the right shape, but it's not gonna hold up to actual sparring combat. So we're gonna take this apart and we're gonna make this a little bit more durable. All right, so here it is disassembled. And as we can see, it's 4 pieces, 2 for the handle, and 2 for the main body. Here's the plan. I'm gonna fill this up with some expanding Loctite, and I'm probably gonna have to drill in a hole to get into the interior of this bit. That will help give it a little bit of extra density and structure, and we're gonna wrap the whole thing in Gorilla Tape, so when someone slams their metal sparring sword, even though it doesn't have an edge, there'll be something for that piece of metal to chew into before it starts denting and digging into the actual plastic. So let's go do that. And here we are, it's a lovely spring day, the birds are chirping, the yard crews are spoiling my audio. So get ready for a time lapse of me drilling holes and filling them with goo. Ugh. Okay. Well. There we go. That's not going anywhere. Ugh. One moment. I think I need to rethink this a little bit. Okay, I know that looked bad, and honestly, I don't know what I expected. Of course Loctite looks like the innards of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. However, against all odds, I mean, the bigger chunks actually came off pretty easily. I was gonna try to reuse the screws that kept the handle in place, but I don't think I'm gonna need to. So, using the power of jump cuts, let's wrap this thing in duct tape. I'm gonna be real honest with you, chat. This is not my finest work. As you can see, the duct tape didn't really cooperate on going on smoothly, so I have all of these knotted lumps, which, you know, up here on the main shaft isn't too big of a deal, but it remains to be seen how much of an issue that'll be on the handle, especially when you're doing those super fast whippy motions. Another issue, that Loctite really messed up my gloves. Now, some of you in the comments might be saying, why didn't you just use rubber gloves? My roommate, if you're watching this, you might be saying, BC, why didn't you just use my rubber gloves? I couldn't find them, and I didn't want the Loctite to set in the handle before I could make sure it was all properly pushed together, so I just grabbed my work gloves. Unfortunately, these are the gloves that I use when I'm doing side sword. And this. So I might need to get new work gloves soon. But tonight is Thursday Night Fight Night over at ADL, and we're gonna fast forward in time to tonight to see how well this baby performs on the field of battle. Public halt! You violated the law! Alright, so what did we learn from this? Well, number one, not all ideas are good ideas. And number two, turns out steel is in fact stronger than duct tape, Loctite, and cheap Italian plastic. If I learn anything else from this, time will tell. But the important part was that it was funny and I had a good time with my friends. And you know what? That seems like a pretty good takeaway from all of this.